What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about a brand new film that's stirring up some controversy, and a film that I've been seeing all over social media, and that movie is called Sound of Freedom, directed by Alejandro Monteverde, who wrote this film alongside Rod Barr. This film stars Jim Caviezel, Bill Camp, Javier Godino, and many more. So if your social media algorithm is like mine, then you've likely seen the various trailers for this movie all over social media, as well as even them saying that the studio is giving away free tickets to see this movie because people are going on the website of the studio, Angel Studios, and literally buying people's tickets so that you can go to their website, get your ticket for free, and go check out the movie. This is a movie they really want a lot of people to see because, as they say at the very end of the film, it's a movie that took over 5 years to actually get released. It's a movie that was made and done 5 years ago, and after a lot of setbacks and a lot of roadblocks, it officially is coming out under a small studio with a limited budget. This isn't a big studio movie. The word on the street is that a lot of big studios didn't want to touch this movie and didn't want to release it, which in a lot of social media conversations is kind of being turned into this thing of Hollywood didn't want you to see this movie. And while I do think that is definitely true when it comes to a lot of people, I think your opinion on that is going to be something that's a little bit more subjective. Sound of Freedom is a story that focuses on an agent from the Homeland Security known as Tim Ballard, who in this film is played by Jim Caviezel. And throughout the course of the film, he goes undercover within the world of child trafficking as well as pedophilia to try and save some children. And that's the base premise of the film. That's pretty much all you need to know throughout the course of this movie or going into this movie. I actually hadn't even seen a trailer for this movie going into it. I'd only seen the poster and maybe some clips and glimpses that I'd seen passing through social media. As I said, I never even really stopped to watch any of the trailers, but as I started to hear more people speaking about it, whether it be my YouTube movie review peers or bigger movie reviewers or just seeing articles about it online, it was clear to me that this is a movie that I should probably go check out just because of how much controversy and conversation is happening around it. And I think it goes without saying that child trafficking and human trafficking in general is one of the nastiest things that happens in the underground of this world. There's just an underworld of nasty, vile people who are just trading people away as slaves, sex slaves, and all kinds of different kinds of slavery in general that just pains my heart to think about. It's easy to get lost in the world where we're just watching movies, going to work, and coming home, playing some video games, smoking a joint, hanging out, or sitting here watching some random bald dude with a beard and lip piercings talking about movies. And while that's all happening, and while I'm sitting here filming this video, there are tons and tons and tons, thousands, hundreds of thousands of individuals who are unfortunately in slavery, that are being completely manipulated, that are taken from their families, and it's a heartbreaking thing. And so I'll start this off by saying that I would say that this movie is a movie that is definitely worth watching at least once. I don't think this is a movie that's going to be fantastic to everybody. I don't think this is a movie that's going to work for everybody. I think there's going to be a lot of controversy around the topic, how it's depicted, how this movie turns out for a lot of people, on top of, also just regular criticisms that you would have for a film based on your own personal taste in movies. But I do think this is a movie that has a powerful message that a lot of people should check this out. I think the sad reality is, like I mentioned, there are so many kids that are being trafficked throughout the world at all times, that are in places where they'll never be found. There are plenty who are rescued and have been rescued, as we see in this movie. But not only is this movie really depicting this, heroic story of this individual who really, fought against the odds and went and saved some kids, but it's more so highlighting the fact that there are so many more kids that will never and have never been rescued, leaving so many households just filled with trauma, sadness, and depression beyond our wildest imaginations. It's something that is very real, and I think that this movie in a lot of ways depicts that in a really real way. Of course, with this film being PG-13 though, it does hold back in a lot of ways, leaving a lot of the scenes that do happen kind of being something that's alluded to versus something that's actually shown, which of course, it has to do with kids, so there's only so much you can do. With all that said, I do believe this is a film that is worth watching. Like I said, the studio themselves are literally giving out free tickets. I went and watched it via my AMC A-list, so I still, gave some money to the studio and to the filmmakers who made this movie. But if you wanted to see it for free, that option is available. But outside of that whole element, the question is, what did I think about the movie? Overall, what I could say about Sound of Freedom is that I found it to be a well-acted film that for the most part is well shot. At times, the fact that it does have a limited budget is very clear. There were elements of the film that sometimes felt like a solid TV movie when it came to just the overall production of the film. But where I felt this film really struggled for me was in its overall pacing and screenplay. There's a good story here that I think could make a lot of people emotional and get you really wrapped up in what's going on. And there were plenty of moments throughout the course of the film where I was emotional, where I did feel for what was going on, where I was really sad to think about all the things that are going on in this world that we often sometimes don't even think about, even though we know it's happening. There were so many moments in this film where I did find myself engrossed in the performances, in the dialogue and the story, but there were also a great handful of moments where I was finding myself bored, and a lot of times where I found myself kind of thinking, well, that was kind of breezed over and now we're spending a lot more time here. And there was just a lot of things when it came to the pacing that oftentimes left me either bored or just thinking this is a lot slower than I'd like it to be. This isn't a movie that's built on action sequences and all that kind of stuff, so of course you know that this is going to be a movie that's far more built on tension and dialogue, which in a lot of ways it is, but I found that sometimes the pacing of the narrative and the way that things were explored oftentimes made me feel a little bit bored throughout the course of the runtime. It's also a movie that, because of its pacing, oftentimes felt like it was coming to an end a couple of times in the movie, only to continue on for another 20-30 minutes. This movie comes in a little bit over 2 hours and oftentimes felt substantially longer, but at the same time, because of the way that the screenplay was broken up and the story was told, there was a part of me that felt like this story probably would have been better suited to have been done over a 3 to 4 episode miniseries where they really could have expanded upon a couple of things that I felt were breezed over. With that said though, I do think that this is a solid movie. I did really enjoy the movie. I think it is a good movie. I would give it a thumbs up, but I know that this isn't going to be a film that works for everybody. I found it to be rather slow at times, boring at times, but still impactful in others, and by the time the movie was over, it got me thinking and it got me emotional, and there was definitely a lot about this movie that I do think was really well made. It's got a really great story and message at the center that I think a lot of people need to watch. And Jim Caviezel comes in at the very end during the credits. This isn't a spoiler, just to give a message, thanking people for watching the film, telling everybody about the free tickets that are available online, like I just mentioned, but also mentioning that this is just a movie they want to get as many people as they possibly can to see, to really just open the discussion around child trafficking. And while I think that this movie is only able to depict it in a certain light, there's a lot to when it comes to child trafficking and human trafficking in general that of course cannot be depicted on screen, and that things that we don't even know about that are on another level that just will never be brought to screen in a proper and accurate way. I do really feel like this movie did hit the nail on the top of the head of a lot of elements, and more than anything just got me thinking about it. And I hope it gets the discussion going further. I hope it's something that we can slowly see leave humanity as time goes on. I don't see that happening anytime soon, unfortunately, but I do think the overall message that this film does try to convey is there. I do think it's strong. I do think it's well done. But as far as an overall script and screenplay, I do think sometimes it does leave a little bit more to be desired as a movie. It can be a little bit dull and boring at times, as I mentioned earlier, though I still enjoyed the film, and I do think it's at least worth a watch if it's something that you're even slightly interested in. So that's going to be my thoughts on Sound of Freedom. I definitely want to hear what you guys have to say about this. Have you been seeing the social media marketing for this film? Is it something you're looking to check out? Is this a movie you're staying away from? Whatever the case may be, I definitely want to hear what you guys have to say about this movie. If you have seen the movie, please leave a comment down below letting me know what you thought about the movie. Did you have issues with the pacing at times as well? Or were you just super engrossed in the narrative and what was going on here? Definitely want to hear any and all takes, so leave any comments down below, and I'll see you great people in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye.